welcome Helen Anderson to our Listen Better podcast. Delighted to see you on this hottest of hot days in June. And talking of hot off the press, I realise now that you've been recently recognised in Campaign's inaugural 40 over 40 list. Congratulations. What did that mean to you?
Thank you so much. What an honour. It was, I've been so overwhelmed with the reaction, not only just with my current team and the teams that I've worked with before, but the sector as a whole. There's a lot of goodwill in the sector. There's a lot of camaraderie, and everybody's really happy when other people have some success. I was really really honoured to receive the award, so it means a huge amount. I've worked very hard to get where I am, so it's an accolade that I can now take forward to say that I'm part of an incredible cohort. If you look at the names on that list of the people and what they've done for the sector in their own careers, but also in their communities and giving back, which is really important to me. So yeah, really honoured. Thank you.
Well done. I hope you're going to take a few moments this week during the festival with the Alliance to celebrate. So you've had quite a journey to date. I've been looking through your CV naturally. But more recently, about 4 months ago now, 100 days, you joined the Alliance. So what made you think, yep, I really want to help lead the Alliance forward?
The Alliance of Independent Agencies is a truly magical thing. It's relatively new in terms of association status, in that it's only 7 years old. We have an incredible leadership team. Terry and Martin and I, had worked together before previously when I was at the Network One, when I was looking after independence internationally. And we just had a chemistry that neither of us could deny in terms of a working relationship, and professionally very, very committed to helping support independence. And I've always, my career to date really has been as a CMO in-house, and have built, big in-house teams and worked with lots of different, either on clients or with clients as part of the roles I've been in. So I have a very different perspective. I've never worked in an agency, I've never owned one, but I have, been pitched at 1,000 times and have read a million tender documents. And I know a good agency when I see one. And they have such passion for what they do. And they often start, out of either flames, out of fire, or Phoenix style, or with just a desire to do things better, more ethically, with more integrity and independence. Stand for that wholeheartedly. So when this opportunity came up to come and help build the Alliance, we've got a long way to go, and we're relatively new on the scene. It was just an opportunity that I couldn't pass up, really.
Well, it's lovely to be talking to you at the early stages of this, just as I said, 100 days in or so. So, what have been your biggest learnings or surprises so far about the organisation and perhaps the agencies you represent?
The surprise really for me is just how friendly everybody is, really. I mean, considering they're all competing for the work, and we're not in a great economy at the moment. They're getting new clients in, a new pipeline, and new business is really really hard for agencies at the moment, and they're having to pitch long pitch processes, against people that they've either worked with or for, or and yet still, when we bring them together as part of the Alliance, and the key on the word there is alliance, we are a community. They're so friendly, they're so lovely to one another, and there's a lot of support, and they cheer each other on when others win business. And so that's probably been the biggest surprise. But actually, when I boil down to it, the Alliance team, internal team, is tiny. We're really small. And my God, do we do so much for the industry and for the sector. It's my job really to make sure that everybody knows what's on offer and the benefits that we can bring. And actually, by working together, we can achieve a lot more. So I would say that's been the biggest surprise this year.
Great to hear. I love that sense of camaraderie amongst the independents. Good. So you stepped into the role, and I'm imagining you had a likely vision or a set of priorities. Have those been knocked off course? Have you evolved those since getting into the thick of things?
The beauty of this being the year of the indies, which I definitely think it is, I think the holding network's having a really tough time at the moment, and we're not in a position we are reflecting negatively on that. But what that does actually is amplify the benefits of working with independent agencies at the moment, because they don't have those big bureaucratic top line structures that they have to work to. They can be quicker, more agile, more independent in their thinking and their outlook. And that independent thinking is absolutely crucial. So I think at the moment, the vision is for us to grow as a network. We know now from some work we've done with agency by agency that 99% of the UK agencies market is independent. And that's 25,000 active agencies in the UK. We have a community of just under 2,000. So there's a lot more out there that we're not talking to that we'd like to bring into the community in one way or another. We'd like them to reach out to us. We'd like to do more with everybody. We'd like to do more regionally. So I think it's, for us, it's growth as a vision, as a goal. But actually just to do things differently and just to be part of something, a movement, a momentum in this particular time in history where independents are really being, highlighted as the ones that big clients, even tier one clients, want to work with. So that's really exciting.
Great stuff. And you've mentioned the economic challenges agency land is facing, or everybody is facing. And we're also in a time of huge change. We've got AI disruption, shifting client expectations, perhaps wanting more for less. What do you think agencies need to be most focused on right now to stay relevant and resilient?
With the way the technology that's happening at the moment, everybody else would potentially say, you need to be looking at your systems, your processes, and where AI can help you. I'm actually going to say your people, because if you look at the majority of the spend in the agencies, it's on their people. And whilst AI will help, grow and speed things up and give more efficiencies in terms of time and resource, actually the real benefit of working with independents is the teams that you work with, the people. And I think if agency leaders invest in their people, we have a huge training program here at the Alliance. We've got well over 100 courses. We have an accredited diploma. Really look after your people, invest in them. Homegrown talent is always going to be a good strategy in terms of progression, succession. So I think it's really important not to lose the focus on people within your organisation. And I can only reflect on that as having run big in-house teams, because the more that I've invested as a leader into the teams that I'm working with and that are around me, and by that I mean subordinates, I mean those around you, stakeholders, suppliers, the better those relationships are, actually the more you'll thrive, and the work will come. So I think if I was giving one piece of advice, I'd say focus on your people, focus on your teams, make sure those development plans are in, don't skip one-to-ones, make sure there are team incentives and that teams are coming together, particularly in person. I think it's very easy post-COVID to slip into a hybrid comfortable arrangement, and I think that agencies are starting to recognise that and more bringing people back in. I can't stress enough how different a relationship is with your team if you're actually spending some time with them and you're hearing the conversations outside of the virtual meeting. So yeah, that would be my advice.
Okay, music to my ears that people come up number one there, since we support the Alliance with the People Pulse, really understanding what people think and feel right now. So yeah, culture, talent have always been key agency opportunities, I would say, and sometimes challenges. Well, are there any other pressure points that agencies need to be thinking about, or that you're seeing emerge across the industry?
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting that you raise People Pulse there, because that is culture benchmarking within our agencies. And actually, there's no one else really doing that at the moment. We do have an incredible tool there for agencies to get a real handle on not only what's happening within their agencies, because their people, their team players, if you like, are contributing to that survey, and they actually get a personalised report back on what culture is looking like. And because we're a third party, actually we get told a lot more than potentially you would do if you would just how's life at the agency in a one-to-one environment. So it's really important, therefore, and within the people poll structure, we can actually benchmark you against other agencies. So I think that's really important as well. But time and time again, and I don't think this is a new thing. New business pipeline seems to be a big challenge, and we get that. We do another survey within the alliance called the Agency Performance Pulse, which is our CEOs fill in quite an extensive survey twice a year so we can just see what the state of the nation is and where the big pinch points are. And I would say, investment in technology is definitely a concern. It keeps agency leaders awake at night. Can they keep up? Can we hold on to our staff? Can we retain our staff? And culture obviously plays a big part in that. And I think, new business pipeline and perhaps looking at other ways to bring new business in other than constant pitching, which, can get a lot. So we can provide lots of support in that area, and really happy to have conversations with agency owners if they are struggling, because actually just talking to other agency leaders or other account managers or other directors, that can help. That can help. Joining some of our peer-to-peer action groups, hearing the fact that other people are struggling in these areas as well, sometimes that's as cathartic as it needs to be. So yeah, we're here to support, and really important that people reach out.
I think that support and collaborative element of the alliance community is so powerful from observing it from an external point of view. And I think the alliance really does help agencies not just to survive, but to really thrive. Beyond the people and the training and those benchmarking pulse checks that you've mentioned, is there anything else that you're doing looking ahead? How are you going to continue to help agencies to thrive, not just survive?
Yeah, well, and as part of that growth plan, we've got such an exciting year in this year at the moment, because we've launched the Alliance of Media Independence at the start of the year, which has now got 28 members, the largest media agencies in the country, all coming together to work, as a group together. They are competitors, so in terms of client pitching and stuff, that continues as is. But as a group, they represent over 1.5 billion in spend in the UK. That's the largest buying group in the country. So that's garnering some interest, and we're doing some great work with them in terms of training, in terms of development, in terms of market pressure, but also looking at the supply chain. So looking at the broadcasters, talking to platforms to get better services for independent agencies. So lots of work going on now. And we've merged with Agencynomics this year as well. So we've got smaller agencies, generally smaller agencies. Some are actually have grown massively. And that community is found owner-led. And that's just formed hot off the press. This weekend, we've relaunched Agencynomics as the Indie Agency Club. So that's a growth area for us, in that we're bringing in a community of founder owners that can have a say and contribute, because a lot of the work we do with the Alliance is actually representation. So we actually go in and do debates in Parliament. We sit on the UK Council of the Ad Association, which reports into government. So we do a lot of industry representation as well, and it's really important that the agency leaders all over the country can be a part of that and have a louder voice. So.
Gosh, I'm breathless almost listening to you. You're such a powerhouse, Helen. I'm now going to end our short interview with a quick fire round. I hope you haven't been preparing these. I gave you an indication of what I might ask, but I'm just going to ask for a 1 or 2 word answer. So, the last book or podcast that shaped your thinking?
I must just comment on that last point you made, because it's not me, it's the whole team of the Alliance, actually. It's not, we're not one individual, one ego here. This is very much a team approach. So big credit out to Clive, to Graham, to Terry, and the whole Alliance team in the background that make everything work. So I should just say that. But the last book I read that actually resonated a lot with me, and I have a very unhealthy obsession with sports psychology, and having been a sportswoman and a trained sportswoman for a very long time. So the last one that I read that really resonated with me was Serena Wideman's The England Female Football Managers book. She actually called it What It Takes, with the Lions win the Euros a few years ago. And that was actually the title of my dissertation for my master's, about 15 years ago. What does it take to be a successful female in the City of London? And so, that hit hard for me. And I love actually resonating between a team, high performance team environment in a sport way, and how that translates to business. We put a lot of sport leaders on stages at big conferences, at big business conferences, and we listen to it, get inspired for it, and walk away. But there's never any kind of transition of the learning. And I will eventually do a PhD on it. I'm so passionate about it. But that one really resonated with me. Great book. She's what an inspirational leader. You know, she's a phenomenal woman.
I agree. Great to hear you talking about a female leader in that way and a phenomenal inspiration to young women wanting to play footy. Last few questions then. One word agencies should retire. What's overused?
Collaboration.
AI, threat, tool, or hype?
Cool.
And finally, if you've got time between all of this that you're doing with the Alliance team, your guilty pleasure.
My guilty pleasure, I get very little time to myself, but if I was to watch a TV program, something like Married at First Sight Australia is probably my guilty pleasure. I can lose myself in the psychology and sociology around that program for hours. So yeah, that's probably my guilty pleasure.
I love that. Thank you so much, Helen. Real pleasure speaking to you today, and I'm wishing you all the very best for the festival. I know it's coming up the next few days, and look forward to seeing you there and later in the year, no doubt, over the People Pulse findings.
Thank you, Annabelle, so much.